shouting high tonight. I felt the presence of the Lord.
There's a good spirit here. Good spirit.
Man, I felt His presence. And sometimes if we're not careful, when we look around, the crowd's a little low, we seem to move slowly. But appreciate the Lord. I also appreciate the fact that those Sparks come out here this week and cut that carpet out of this room. I would sit there at that base and that mold and that carpet was just about to put me out. I'd get so sleepy and lethargic, but it hasn't bothered me this weekend. I'm glad you found that. Got that taken care of. Amen. But these allergies can get the best of us sometimes. I thought last week I came out here and mowed my yard, and then came out here and mowed, and it just took a lot out of it, like it had never done before. And this week I came here and mowed, and we had the rain, and that helped. And I appreciate the Lord for helping us.
Yes.
And told Sister Kathy I was going to fence in the back half, buy me some cattle and put it back there, and then I have to mow all that. Brother Rodney, I got to think about it, then I'd be tied down with the cattle. And the yard just wasn't out a week, so I think I just heard mow the yard. I don't know. But appreciate the Lord. And book of John, chapter 18. And I have preached from this before. This chapter, anyway. Maybe use some of these verses, but got a little bit different thought on my heart tonight. And book of John, chapter 18. We'll start with verse 1. It said, when Jesus had spoken these words, he went forth with his disciples over the brook Kidron, where was a garden, into the which he entered, and his disciples. And Judas also, which betrayed him, knew the place, for Jesus oft times resorted thither with his disciples. Thank you for standing for the reading. And I thought here we read that Jesus had crossed over the brook, went into the garden, and the Bible said in verse 2 that Judas knew the place,
Right.
because Jesus resorted there often.
Yeah.
And I thought I'd begin to think about that. And we know that Judas was the one that betrayed Christ. We know that.
Yeah.
He, for whatever reason, and I understand that, we sometimes we question things, and it just happened to be Judas that had a heart that allowed himself to be in the place that he could be used to betray Christ.
Right.
I mean, that's just something to think about. He allowed himself to be in the place that he could be used to be the one to betray Christ.
Right.
And I thought, I don't want Brother Horn to allow myself to be in a place where I would betray Christ.
No.
It's easy to be done. It's easy to allow things to get into our minds and allow thoughts to come into our hearts. We can, people can be hurtful. I mean, whether you realize or not, people can be hurtful.
That's right.
They can, there's probably not a one of us here that at one time or another hasn't had something Brother Rodney said to us to hurt our feelings. I know I have. And I thought, and if we're not careful, we can allow those things to harbor in our heart,
Right.
and cause us to get into a place that we would actually betray God, sell out on God, just because of things that we've harbored in our heart. But for whatever reason, Judas was the one that betrayed Christ. But the Bible says that Judas well knew the place
Right.
where Christ often, the Bible says he that he went there and he resorted there. Not to go in a place to like what we think a resort, but it was a place that he went away to get away with his disciples. I believe it was a place that he got away, and often, Brother Rodney, he prayed.
Right.
I know we read the place whether he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and there he prayed, and we often resort to that. His sweat would come as great drops of blood. I believe his skin actually broke forth blood. I believe he bled there. And he prayed so hard, and I thought, we often read that, but I thought this was a place that he often went. And I thought, as I began to think about this place that he went to, he went there especially to this place that he assembled often there with his disciples. And I thought, but Judas knew where he would be. He knew where he would be. And I thought, this is a place, if you could, where we can find rest with Christ. I thought, there's times that our bodies just simply get worn out. I was talking to one of the guys at work the other day, and I said, I don't know what it is, which I realize now that it's just the allergies. But I told him, I said, I just feel like I'm wore out. I'm sleeping good of a night. I get up in the morning and I feel quite refreshed. But Brother Rodney, it don't take me long throughout the day that I'm just tired. And I thought, I'm not getting that old. But I thought they're just simply things that we just get overwhelmed with. And I thought the responsibilities of everyday life sometimes wear us down. Those places are sometimes that we just simply need rest. I thought Sister Pauline and Brother Danny last week they went on vacation, and Sunday night Brother Danny was I was talking to him back there, and he talked about how he I don't remember how late he slept that one day, and he said it's been 30 years since I slept that late. And I thought, I know how it is. It ain't very often we get to do those things. But the problem was the body just physically gets wore out. We need rest. And I thought sometimes spiritually, both times we just simply get wore out and we need rest. And I thought there is a place where we can find that rest. I thought Judas knew that whenever they went to find Christ, he knew that there was a place that he often went for him and the disciples to pray, to get away and to rest. And I thought, there is that place.
Amen.
I'm glad tonight that there is that place. There's sometimes we just simply, our minds just get overwhelmed. We begin to think about our children and how they've gotten away from God, and our families, our extended family, and our nieces and nephews, and brother-in-laws and sister-in-laws, and brothers and sisters, however the case may be, and we see how they're drawn further and further away from God, and we begin to think on those things, and we become overwhelmed with them, and we begin to question sometimes why. But I thought there is a place where we can get with God, that we can turn those things over to Him.
Yeah.
No, we need to get into that place with God. Like I said, it's a place that we can find rest. And there's nothing wrong with seeking out rest. I've only got a few days myself coming up. I think this Friday I'm going to be off, and the company gives us our birthday off, and I'm going to be off Friday, and we begin to think about maybe something we could do, and I thought maybe we might take a little small mini trip, and then we sit down and we start figuring the cost of the bill, and I think, well, no, that's just really not, sensible. You got a good bed to sleep in. Why drive 3 or 4 hours just to sleep in the bed one night and go to a place that you like to eat and just drive back whenever you find a good place to eat here? And but the reason we do those things is we're longing for rest.
That's right.
We're just longing for a time to get away. But I thought what we need to do is, and I'm not knocking vacations, I'm going to take one here in a couple of weeks. But I thought what we really need to do is find a place to get away with God. That place where we can find with Him. There is a place.
Woo, come on
And I
now.
thought, wouldn't it Moses, I believe it was, whenever he began to seek, it was Moses when he was up on the mountain and he was going to seek for God, and God told him, said, there is a place in a rock beside me. That's what he told him. He said, there's a place in a rock. And he put him there, and that was a place where that he put him there so that when he passed by him, that he could see his hinder parts.
Yeah.
And I thought, but there had to be a certain place that Moses had to be before God would ever walk by him.
Yeah.
I thought Moses had to be in the place that God told him to be. And I thought there's a place that God wants us to be. That way he can reach out and bless us with the things he's wanting to bless us with. I thought we've got to get in that place. The place where God wants us. And I thought it's so easy for us to get in a place where we think we need to be.
Right.
You know, I've said it many times before. I look back and you know, I like my job, and I make enough money. We're doing all right, and I thought, you know, when I look back, there's positions that I've got in other companies, Brother Bill, that make a whole lot more money than I make, and I look at those, and sometimes and if you're not careful, you would begin to question God. But I thought, but then I look at the time they have to put in on those jobs, and all the much more that it's required of them. And then I look back and I realize I'm where God has placed me. You know, God has put me there. There's been times that I thought about leaving, and it seemed like everything was going to work out to where I could. But then something happened and I ended up standing there because of the place that God has put us. No matter it's our physical job or whatever it is. But we've got to be where God can use us in His spiritual world also.
That's right.
But we get into things that overtake our time so that we can, you know, and I'm one of those, it is so easy for me to get caught up and lose track of time, I guess you would say. Spend too much time in things other than what I need to be spending time on. And I thought, and I guess this year I've probably relaxed more than I have in a long time. And I thought, you know, especially when it starts turning summer, and I thought, you know, I've got a connection and a guy that he's a friend of our maintenance man, and he does some side work with him, and they do a lot of refrigeration work, and he likes me for some reason. If he takes out an air conditioning unit or does a big unit in a grocery store, whatever it is, Brother Ron, he brings me all that scrap. And, you know, it adds up. You know, you scrap that stuff out and separate the copper, the aluminum, the cores, and all that stuff, and the metal. And, you know, there's a lot of work involved in it. But I thought, I done it back in the winter, and around my barn, it was piled up awful. And I got back there, and I said, I'm going to get all this cleaned up before spring. So I don't have to mow around all this stuff through the summer. Guess what I'm mowing around? I'm mowing around a bunch of junk. Because I didn't get it cleaned up in the spring. I started, and then Kylie got back there, and he decided he's going to help me one day while I was at work, so now the pile's even bigger because he's got it scattered everywhere. And I thought, you know, but we have all this stuff, and we have plans. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and we don't realize how fast time gets away from us.
That's right.
And we sat on the porch today, and Sister Kathy said, well, it's June the 2nd. Before we know it, June will be over.
That's right.
And I said, before we know it, it's going to be Christmas time again.
Right.
Because time is waiting on no one.
That's right.
And I thought, but if we can realize how fast time is getting away, and realize, but there is that place where that we can get where God wants us to be.
Right.
No matter how fast time is going by, there's still a place where we can find rest with God. And I thought there is a place that we can find strength to face our problems. You know, when Christ crossed that brook and he went back into that garden, he knew that it wasn't going to be too long, that there was going to be a group of men coming into that garden.
Right.
He knew what he was going to face. He knew exactly what was fixing to transpire.
You sure did.
But yet, he had strength in that place to face the things that he was fixing to have to face. I thought it was in that place
Yeah.
that he could face his problems.
Oh.
And I thought we have a place where we can get in touch with God. I thought we've got a church world today that they can get their eyes all watery and wet, and they can cry out and say that they've got something, they got more spirit than we've got. And I thought, I can remember being a kid and we come to church, and I mean, it wasn't very rarely that there wasn't somebody up dancing and shouting, speaking in tongues. And I thought sometimes we come to church and I'm sure, I hope somebody speaks in tongues about it every night when they're down praying, but maybe we don't hear them. But I thought, but yet, I feel like that we still we know how to get in that place.
Yeah.
I thought we know what it takes to get to that place. And I thought, and if we're not careful, we're allowing things to keep us from getting where we need to be with God.
Right.
And I thought, I don't know about you, but I want to get to that place where I can be with God. I thought there's a song, and I've referred to it several times. I guess the first time I ever heard anybody sing it, my cousin Michael, his wife Darla, she used to sing it about there's a place in my heart where even I won't go. And Sister Marcia sings it sometime.
Yeah.
And I thought, I really like that song. I like the message to that song.
Yeah.
Because it is so easy to get a place where that we can allow things, like I said earlier, to harbor. Hurt feelings, bad thoughts. I mean, just whatever it could be. We could just begin to harbor those things. We put them in there. We lock them up, and nobody else is getting in there. And I thought, I've been to family reunions, and Darla would sing that, or Marcia, and I thought Darla used to work there where I work at Charlie several years ago, and we'd have maybe a Thanksgiving dinner or Christmas dinner or something, and some of us we'd bring our music, and Paul Howard, some of you may know him, he worked there at that time, and he's a Wesleyan Methodist preacher, and he'd bring his guitar, and him and his daughter went to church at that time, and we'd sit around and we'd sing and play our music, and one day Darla began to sing that song, and I looked around, and I mean, man, everybody in the break room was crying, and I mean, they started getting up one at a time, and they was hitting that door because of that place in their heart.
Right.
And they knew that they had things in their heart that they didn't want nobody else to know about, and to begin to bring it to light to them. Sometimes we can get things in our heart, Brother Bill, and we can hide it so deep that we forget it's in there.
Come on,
And we become so cold to it that we forget that we've harbored that in there. And after a while we begin to think about that place, and they realized, how deep they had put things away, and they got out of there. And I thought, but the thing about the song was at the end of it, it talks about him handing him the key. And him opened it up, and together they walked in, and they began to clean those things out of that heart. I thought, when we clean those things out of that heart, I thought then we can get into that place where He is.
Oh, yes.
I don't know about you, but I want to be into that place. And that's as long as we have a place that we're familiar with, that we're hiding things, and we're not allowing ourselves to get into the place where God wants us to be. I thought there is that place where we can find Him.
Yes.
As I begin to think about that today, and I begin to think about some of those old saints that we've often referred to. I've referred to them. I've heard Brother Sparks refer to calling Sister Step in the hours of the night, praying. There's been times I don't think I ever went to Sister Steps, but there's been times that I called Brother Elmo, and I'd say, I need you to pray for me. There have been times that I've got in my automobile and I drove to Brother Elmo. I mean, I've got over in summertime, and it'd be daylight about this time of evening, and still plenty of daylight, and drive over there and knock on the door, and Sister Townsend would come to the door, and Brother Elmo done me in bed. And I'd forget, don't tell what time the man got up in the morning, and but he done me in bed in daylight. but he'd get out and he'd come and he'd pray for me, pray with me.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't just pray for you, but he prayed with you. That's what I went there for him, to pray with me.
That's right.
But I thought the reason we went to pray with those older saints, Brother Bill, is because we knew that they had a place where they could hold God. I was talking to Brother Elmo's nephew, works there with me. And he and I was talking the other day, he used to live there where my Uncle Mason lives. Right across from Brother Elmo built the house. And he was talking about it the other day, and he said, I remember being a boy. And he said, and I can remember hearing Elmo down in the holler. And his son Travis lives in the house now. He said, down behind Travis's house. And he said, I can hear Elmo down there praying. And he said, I hear him hollering out and wooing out. Yeah. And I thought, this is a boy that don't go to church. He's lost. Yeah. But he began to talk about it, and I seen the chills rolling up on his face as he began to talk about Brother Elmo. And then he said, and then on the other side of the holler, he said, we'd hear Tracy Riddle down there crying out and praying out to God. He said, we heard it all the way around us. And he said, he said, we never got excited because we knew what it was. See, they had a place where they get away with God. I never went to the place that Brother Steve went with Brother Elmo. Brother Steve said he went over there one day, and Brother Elmo said, come on, go with me. And he said, we walked down over the hill, got down there in the woods, and he said, there was no rotten log there. And he said the ground was wore out slick all the way around it. And he said we got down there beside that log, and he said we began to pray. And he said it wasn't too long and the Spirit of God come out. Why? Because they had a place where they knew they could get in touch with God. And that's why we went to them. Because they had that place where we knew they could get in touch with God for us. But we could get to the same place. I told the story the night I went to Brother Elmo's, and as I pulled off Highway 52 onto the extension road that cut me back over to Rice Station there, and as I pulled in and had that old 67 Chevrolet in them, and I dropped it up in the second gear to take off again, and the Spirit there already spoke to me and told me what I was needing. But I just kept on driving and went up there, and we got down and we prayed. And I got the confirmation. But I thought first I got into that place. And I thought we could stay in the place where we know that we can get a hold of God. Because there is a place where that He is frequently there. I thought we need to learn that place. I thought look around and I thought, I was out here mowing yesterday. And I thought we had a bunch of pipes out here in the yard that we had badminton net and tether ball and all this stuff. And I thought we had a whole bunch of young people here, Brother Rodney. Yeah. And David came out, my son David came out and he put all that stuff up. And I thought I've mowed around that for several years now. And I thought the other day I came out here the first time, I guess it was, I mowed this year. And I walked out, I got out of the truck and I looked at all that stuff. And I thought, nobody's using it no more. So I walked over and I got a hold of the poles and I shook them and I pulled them out of the ground, took them back here and stacked them behind the building. Because we don't have no young people using that stuff. And I thought I got on the lawnmower last night and I was mowing up and down through here. Come on. And I thought my heart began to get heavy, Brother Bill. I thought I began to think about youth rallies and stuff we used to go to, and thought I've not been to one in a while, none of us have. And but I thought as I began to mow, and I began to think youth camp season's coming up. And I thought, we ain't got no youth camp age children here that wants to go no more. And I began to think about the Bible school. And I thought, we've got young kids here. And I thought, but I began to think about how many we used to have and how many we've been having. That's right. And I thought, and the enemy just began to talk to me. He began to beat me up a little bit. But I thought I began to think about that place. And I thought if we can get in that place, Brother Tom, if we can get a hold of God, if we can get the Spirit of God moving. I thought Brother Odell back here, if he can get a touch of God and the Spirit of God get in this place and move on him and get the healing that he needs. And I thought there's others here that need healing. And we start seeing these things happen. I thought we're going to start seeing them coming. But I thought first we've got to get to that place where we know that God can meet us there. And we know that we can meet Him.
talking to.
There is a place.
Glory to God.
There is a place.
Hallelujah.
I thought too often we've got this to do, that to do. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having things that we enjoy doing. There's not a thing in the world wrong with that. The body just simply gets tired. We need rest. But the most important thing we need is to get into that place where we can find God. As I begin to think about this service tonight, all I could think about was that place. Had a couple of thoughts maybe on my mind that I thought I might use, and woke up this morning and I believe Sister Kathy had asked me either this morning, I guess she's one of one, I don't know, asked me, what'd you dream last night? I believe it was this morning. I said, I don't even remember. And I knew I dreamed. But later in the day, I began to think about my dreams. And I dreamed I was at church. And I could remember it. And service was going a little slow. And Mama looked over at me and said, maybe it's time for you just preach. Mama's been gone for a long time. But I thought, she's in that place. And I thought, if we could just get a hold of God. Now, sometimes I get burdened, and Brother Odell, there's times that I get tired, and I think, I'm not being effective. Maybe I ought to just hang it up for a while and let somebody else. Oh, last week I felt bad. I really did. And these allergies, and to be honest, I'm just troubled at heart. And so I just called Brother Sparks. Can you preach tonight? I just really don't feel good. And I thought, if we're not careful, we can push those things off. But I thought, I began to think about that dream. And I forgot all about it. Sometimes you have those dreams and they just, but I remembered it. And the service going, and she looked over and said, maybe it's time you just get up and preach. And I thought, I don't know about you, but I thought, when I get a hold of something to preach with, Brother Odell, that means I've got into that place. And I thought, I might not be helping you, but I feel that spirit tonight. I thought I could feel that sweet spirit that rolls over me. And I thought, I'm out of anything to say, but I just feel good here. Because I felt that place. I thought that there's a place that we can get with God. And I thought, when we get there, I thought we can meet Him there. And I thought we can have our needs met. We can find the rest that we need. We can find the strength to face the things that we've got to face every day. When we can get into that place of God. We know that He's there. Does that come with a song? I hope I've helped you. I thought, let's get into that place. Sister Marcia preaching the other night, talking about the jar, putting it in when you complain. I try not to complain. Sometimes we just do. It's just the nature of who we are. Sometimes we just complain. And I thought, if we can ever get into that place and just get it real good, I thought the complaints go right out the door.
That's it.
Because we get self out of the way. And just get it totally surrendered to God. And I thought, I don't know about you, but I want to go to that place where that I know I can meet God. Does that give us a song?